for everybody. It ain't 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 for everybody. Yeah, many you call, but few get chosen. Matthew 22:14. My righteousness gonna exceed that of the Pharisees.
If you're looking for high quality clothing at affordable costs, check out peculiarapparel.com. My name is Dawad.
And I'm Shayar, and we are the owners of Peculiar Apparel. All of our products are made with 100% natural fabrics, no mixed materials.
We have t-shirts for the man, woman, and child. These can be purchased with or without fringes.
Our women's line of t-shirts currently do not include fringes, but if that's something you desire, send us a DM at peculiarapparel_ on Instagram, or send us an email at help@peculiarapparel.com.
So once again, that is peculiarapparel.com.
Peculiar Apparel for peculiar people.
Shalom, shalom, Mark, shalom, family.
Shalom.
And first want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, whose name is Yahweh, by Shem Yahweh Shai, and by Shem means in the name of his only begotten son, who most know as Jesus Christ, who we know as Yahweh Shai in the Hebrew. And the lesson for today is Ruth was a Moabite, not an Israelite, an in-depth breakdown. And so plenty of people believe that Ruth was an Israelite who's in the book of Ruth. And, you know, of course, it's not a salvation issue, but it's good to understand, you know, thoroughly what the scripture teaches about this woman named Ruth. And we're going to get into this, and through the spirit, hopefully through the spirit and power of Yahweh, by Shem Yahweh Shai, we'll be able to edify some that need to be edified on this topic. And brother, you got anything you want to say?
God, just you know, just the usual. Just make sure to like the video, make sure to comment, and oh, and Salaki, I miss, you know, excuse the typo. You know, I meant to put here as in, you know, HERE, but yeah, just make sure to like the video, comment to make sure that we know you're here, and also share the video so the video can reach others, you know, that need to receive the instruction and the edification. So, you know, that's all I wanted to add in, and I'll just end it off by saying all praises to the Most High. But I'll pass it to you.
Khan, the Water King. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into it. Well, also, you know, if you tuned in, the Water for tuning in, first of all, and all praise to the Most High for allowing you to be able to tune in. If you're watching, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit a like on the video, comment, let us know you're here, and also share with your friends and family through Messenger or just on your page to be able to allow them to be able to share this information in this video, this live with you. And also, if you have the @highlight feature or the @followers feature, you can also access that to be able to get out to more people more efficiently. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into it. And brother, we can start with Ruth 1:1.
Khan. This is the book of Ruth, chapter 1 and verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons.
Khan. So what we see, which is a common argument when it comes to this topic, is Ruth is actually, I mean, not Ruth, but just the country that they're in general is the country of Moab. So through history and through studying the book of Joshua, we see that the Reubenites have conquered the plains of Moab. But when we read this, we have to be careful in reading and actually see what it says. It doesn't say that this is the plains of Moab. It says this is the country of Moab that is dealing with. So it's a difference in the country and the plains of Moab. And so when you look at this, it says they went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. So, brother, if you could pull up the map of Moab.
Con. Con, can you see my screen?
Con.
Con.
Yeah, if you can blow it up a little more.
Con. I was just looking.
Con, that's better. And so when we look at this map, we see Moab. If you look to your right side of the screen, you'll see bold letters that says Moab. And when you look north of that, you see the plains of Moab. So the plains of Moab would be like a mountainous region. And this is completely different than the country itself. So you would have some argue and say, well, the Reubenites conquered the plains of Moab. That's true. They did. They didn't conquer the entire country of Moab. When you deal with a country and the country's named after the people, if someone comes in, invades it, and conquers it, you think they still gonna call it Moab? The country of Moab? No, because it's not the country of Moab anymore. It's no longer their country. So that's something that you have to focus on when dealing with this topic, this subject, is that it says that they conquered the plains of Moab, not the country. And also something I want to highlight and look at in verse 1, it says, now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land. That's another thing that gets brought up. Well, if this is a Moabite, why is there an entire book about her? Well, it said in the times when the judges ruled. The time when the judges ruled is the time of Judges, or like when we read Judges in the book, in the Bible. So Ruth actually was a part of the book of Judges. They separated it and isolated it later on. It wasn't its own book. But we're going to get into the reason that they actually highlighted Ruth, because it wasn't because she was an Israelite, because she was a sister, but she did some things that were very important. And it would go on to show itself in time. And brother, if you got anything you want to bring out, you can.
Con, just quick point. From traditionally, when you look up like the authorship of like the book of Ruth, the book of Judges, and I think another one as well, they will credit the prophet Samuel for writing that particular literature. And so just as the brother was speaking to, later on you'll see Ruth is highlighted because of very, very important actions that happen within this literature. I just want to point that out as a brother just mentioned, but you got it, King.
Khan, the water. Let's read verses 2 through 5.
God. It's the book of Ruth, chapter 1, verse 2. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Milan and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth. It's like in the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. And Milan and Chilion died also, both of them, and the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband.
Khan. So we see Milan and Chilion end up dying. They took 2 wives. Both of the wives were of Moab, the country of Moab. Not the plains, y'all. Not the plains, the country. And it says, and Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left, and her 2 sons. So these 2 sons that she had, they were all she had after her husband died, and they end up dying. So now all she has are the wives of her 2 sons. We're going to see what actually starts to happen as we go throughout this chapter. Brother, you can read verses 6 through 11.
God.
Sister Wendy, that's so plainly written. Women of Moab. The water.
God. You said 6 through 11?
God.
This is the book of Ruth, chapter 1, verse 6. It says, Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, and that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said unto her, Surely we will return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, Turn again, my daughters. Why will ye go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands?
So this like, actually, if you read this and you're thinking logically, it's gonna bring questions to your head, because verse 7 says, Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return into the land of Judah. So the trip is back to the Holy Land. It's back to Jerusalem. It's back to Judah. And it says, And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. She's telling her to go. Ruth and her sister to go. Her sister-in-law to go. Like, hey, don't return with me. Y'all go. And so we continue to read. It says, The Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said unto her, Surely we will return with thee unto thy people. Hold on. If she is an Israelite, wouldn't Naomi's people be her people too? It makes no sense for her to be an Israelite and say, we want to return with you to your people, because those are her people also, if she's an Israelite. And it says, And Naomi said, Turn again, my daughters. Why will ye go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? So Naomi's saying, hey, there's no benefit of you going with me. I don't have any more sons to make your husbands. So go ahead and go to your land and find a husband. It makes logical sense. So we're going to continue reading. Brother, grab verses 14 through 17, unless you want to make a point on that.
Now you got it. 14 through what?
17.
It's the book of Ruth, chapter 1, starting at verse 14. And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. And she said, Behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people, and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me.
So verse 15 says, Behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back into her people, and into her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. So why would Naomi tell Ruth, go with your sister-in-law and go worship false gods and go over there with the Moabites, if she's in fact an Israelite? this wouldn't be a righteous thing, because we already know, we have to understand, like, if your people going off and they actually Israelites, would you tell them to just continue doing the folly they was doing when you know that the Most High God is blessing his people in their land? Or would you say, come on, go with me? You just lost your husband. Come on, we're going to go to Israel and you're going to find you a new husband over there, a righteous man. That ain't what Naomi was doing. She was saying, go back to your people and to your gods. So, looking back at verse 16, it says, and Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. So that lets us know that Naomi's God was not Ruth's God, and her people were not Ruth's people. So she's saying, I want to embrace you and take care of you and go with you to your people, and those are going to be my people, and I'm going to follow your God. So it says, where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. So Ruth, she loved Naomi, and Naomi was an older woman also, and she was there to take care of her, to tend to her, and that was a form of showing her love that she had for her mother-in-law. Brother, grab Ruth chapter 2, verse 1. Con, Jimmy. Say, brothers gonna say that Moab had been overthrown by Israel at that time. Con, we all discussed that at the beginning, how there's a difference between the plains of Moab and the country of Moab, and that Moab, the country, was not conquered by the Reubenites, just the plains.
You said 2 and verse 1.
Con.
For sure. This is Ruth chapter 2 and verse 1. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz.
So I wanted this to be read so everybody can keep in mind, this man named Boaz, he's a kinsman of her husband. So keep that in mind. He's a kinsman of Elimelech, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. So we're going to continue reading. Brother, read verses 2 and 3.
Verse 2. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him, in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers. In her hap or heap was to light on a part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech.
Con. And Sister Wendy, I don't know how you probably knew I was finna say that, but I was gonna make a point, because what brothers say is, why would Boaz, this righteous man, take Ruth if she was an actual Moabite? But we never read any accounts where Boaz is a righteous man. But when you look at verse 1, it says he's a mighty man of wealth. That's different from being like this blameless, upright brother. So we can't assume that he wouldn't allow himself to take a heathen as a wife. Who can say that? We don't see that he's just this righteous brother. We don't see much about Boaz at all. So what we do is we run with what we got. And, we see that he's just a mighty man of wealth. That's it. you funny. Right. Spirit, that I guess that's the next thing that they would say. Hey, well, is that spiritual wealth or physical wealth? Cut it out. Any other time they would read that, they would say, yeah, he was a rich man. That's it. He's mighty. He probably was something else with the sword. You know what I'm saying? That's probably why he's saying he's mighty. He probably could fight his butt off, and he was rich. So, it's that's definitely a point that people would try to make. So we see what happens with Ruth. She's gleaning the ears of corn, and he's peeping out. Like, who that is? You know, he gets to asking questions about who this maiden is. And, you know, he's actually seeing how she tends to her mother-in-law. And that is what really wins him over and makes him pay her some attention. Brother, give me verses 8 through 11.
Come. This is Ruth chapter 2, verse 8. Then said Boaz unto Ruth, Hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. Let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? And when thou art athirst, go unto the vessels and drink of that which the young men have drawn. Then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground, and said unto him, Why have I found grace in thine eyes, that thou shouldest take knowledge of me, seeing I am a stranger? And Boaz answered and said unto her, It hath fully been showed me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thine husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother in the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knewest not heretofore.
And this is exactly what I just was stating. He was identifying her heart that she had toward her mother-in-law, and he was like, man, I admire that. And so it won him over. And so when you look at basically I'll read this in the way that we can understand. Thank you, Sister Khan. Then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground and said unto him, Why have I found grace in thine eyes that thou shouldest take knowledge of me, seeing I am a heathen? Because it says stranger. We know that's interchangeable with heathen. So she's admitting this in this chapter, that I am a stranger, I am a heathen. And she's wondering why she has found grace in Boaz's eyes, because it wasn't the usual thing for a brother that was an Israelite to admire a Moab woman and take her and take care of her, and she become his wife. That was something that was not common. And so Boaz answers her and said unto her, It hath fully been showed me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thine husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother and the land of thy nativity, and art come into a people which thou knewest not heretofore. And then we have to remember that he is kin, Boaz is kin to the husband, the belated husband, the one who just passed away, Elimelech. He's kin to him. So he definitely has compassion toward this sister, Naomi. And when he sees Ruth doing this for her, it just makes him, it brightens his eyes. And he's like, okay, I admire what she's doing. She didn't have to do this. That's not her native kin. So this is why he, admires her and favors her. But we'll continue going forward, brother, unless you want to harp on anything.
Yeah, quick point. So just on the stranger part, when you look at Ruth 2:10, I like typically within the Tanakh, you have about 3 words generally that you'll see for the word stranger. You have ger, you have zur, and you have nakari. Nakari is the word that's used right here, and oftentimes, not every single time, oftentimes is used to refer to a non-Israelite. Now, what's interesting right here, when you look at the Brown Java Briggs, you look at the usage for Ruth. Let me show y'all. Pull it up. So for the entry for Ruth, you look at the beginning. It says foreigner, non-Israel. So this would be a time when the phrase Nikari is actually being applied to a non-Israelite, even per the scholars, even per the context. Um, so like I know, because I know, like I'm sure, like even if we bring out like yeah, we'll say stranger right there, but like someone would say, well, yeah, it could be Israelite strangers, but the way that stranger is used contextually based on the language, and also with the surrounding pericope, is indicating that is referring to a non-Israelite. So I just wanted to highlight that point.
The water, and that's a cut you can't run from. Like, it ain't no way out of that. When you go into etymology of words, and that's why etymology of words is so important, because it basically establishes the point. It's like no running from it. Because what you're gonna do, change the original text? That's the only thing you can do, regardless of how you read this English. And you can try to twist it and say, oh, maybe it was talking about that, maybe it was talking about that. But if you go into the etymology of the word and it tells you what it means, you can't twist it and make it mean nothing else. It is what it is. It's not an Israelite stranger, it's a heathen. And the water sister Mary for the stars.
And
go
so
ahead.
and also, like, now if it was, now if we read in like the previous passages within Ruth, and it was making a case and like pointing towards her being an Israelite, and the definition says non-Israelite, it's like, okay, well, maybe we can at least put up an argument. Like, okay, well, the context is pointing toward it being an Israelite, but the etymology is speaking to it being a non-Israelite. So, okay, they're conflicting. You have an argument, but as you were laying the groundwork within the first chapter, and then a little bit in the second chapter, it points toward her being a non-Israelite more than anything else.
And the biggest thing is, we don't have nothing to gain off of her being a Moabite. It's just simply being honest with the text. And as we continue to go on, it just gets deeper. It's a hole that gets deeper and deeper. If you're trying to say she's an Israelite, that you got to climb out of. So if you're an Israelite brother and teaching that, now you got to worry about when you go and talk to other people, if they actually know how to deal with this text, you're going to be looking kind of crazy. So, that's just a side note. But brother, let's go to Ruth 4:10.
It's the book of Ruth, chapter 4, verse 10. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren. And from the gate of his place, ye are my witnesses this day.
Now it's 2 points, 2 very important points. I'm gonna see if the chat can figure out one of them. And the other point, I'm gonna elaborate on it. So, and while I'm elaborating, see if y'all can get the other point of Ruth chapter 4, verse 10. So, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place, ye are witnesses this day. So the reason that he even took Ruth was because of the dead and not having a child by Ruth. So his name couldn't be carried on because he died without her actually conceiving a child. And that's a very important thing. We'll read that in the law. But have y'all figured it out yet? If not, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. So no, I'm gonna let Ox say it. What is it, Ox?
Well, something that stands out for me is it calls Ruth a Moabitess. That's it's probably the biggest thing I pointed out. But I don't know what the second thing is.
Purchased. Have I purchased to be my wife? And we know with our culture, you don't purchase. You spend a dowry on a virgin. She's definitely not a virgin. After that, you see no more laws about purchasing. The only thing you see is purchase of what we're gonna get. Leviticus 25:44.
Yeah, definitely not a virgin. It's a book of, oh, you said Leviticus?
25:44.
God.
I ain't going there yet.
Yeah, I see some, I just would type it. It's a lot. But this book of Leviticus, chapter 25, verse 44. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you, and them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids.
Plain instructions. It tells us that both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. So she would be considered pretty much a bondmaid, even though it's like she's a wife, but he's purchasing her because she's someone of another nation. You cannot purchase an Israelite woman, because what would you be doing? You would be making her a harlot because you're purchasing her like a prostitute, and that's not how we can operate with our people. Brother, let's go back to Ruth chapter 4, and we'll read verses. We'll start back, reread 10 through 15.
This is the book of Ruth chapter 4, starting at verse 10. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place. Ye are witnesses this day. And all the people that were in the gate, and the elders said, We are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel. And do thou worthily in Ephrathah, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let thy house be like the house of Phares, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which Yahweh shall give thee of this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the woman said unto Naomi, Blessed be the Lord, which hath not left this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel.
15.
Verse 15. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thine old age. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him.
So we already dealt with verse 10, showing that she was purchased. And it was also to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place. Ye are witnesses this day. So he had to do this because there was no brother to her husband, because both of the brothers died, and those were the only 2 sons that Naomi had. So it says, and all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, We are witnesses, the Lord. Witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is coming to thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, and do thou worthily in Ephrathah, and be famous in Bethlehem. So we see the importance of what she did. She was a part of the lineage, and we're going to get into that. It says, and let thy house be like the house of Phares, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. Now watch this. And the women said unto Naomi, hold up, why are they talking to Naomi? Didn't Ruth just have this baby? And the women said unto Naomi, Blessed be the Lord, which have not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thine old age. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, have borne him. Why are they talking to Naomi? Ruth just had this child, but pretty much they saying like, hey, this is your baby, Naomi. This your kindred. This your preserver of life. So, brother, I want to grab the precept, Deuteronomy 25, verses 5 through 7.
God.
And we're going to come back to Ruth chapter 4.
God, it's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 25, verse 5. If brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her, and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her. And it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders, and say, my husband's brother refuseth to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother.
And just like I was stating, there wasn't a brother of her husband. So the next of kin was Boaz. He was kin to them. He was in the family of Elimelech. So we see that this was actually a lawful thing to do. This was his duty. He didn't really have a choice. It was like, okay, oh man, you kin to so-and-so, Mahlon and Chilion, and both of them are dead. So you know what? I'm going to be a righteous brother in this sense and take you and bear a child with Ruth to carry your name on. So, brother, let's get back to Ruth chapter 4. And if you want to make a point before we do that, you can.
God, no point.
God. And let's get verses 16 and 17.
This is the book of Ruth, chapter 4, verse 16. And Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom and became nurse unto it. And the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi. And they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David.
How is this woman, Naomi, who didn't have the child? It says, and the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi. And they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. We ain't heard nothing else by Ruth since verse 13. Verse 14 on down has nothing to do with Ruth. So we see that basically they're saying because of her, she was the mother of what's his name, Mahlon or Chilion, one of them. she was the mother of both of them, Salakia. And she didn't have anyone to carry on the inheritance or the lineage, and now she does because of the next of kin that laid with Ruth and had a child. And so when you look at what's stated in verse 17, it says there's a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. So this is the lineage of Christ. Brother, you can read verses 18 through 22.
It's the book of Ruth, chapter 4, starting at verse 18. You said on down to 22.
Con.
It says, now these are the generations of Pharez. Pharez begat Hezron, and Hezron begat Ram, and Ram begat Amminadab, and Amminadab begat Nahshon, and Nahshon begat Salmon, and Salmon begat Boaz, and Boaz begat Obed, and Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David.
Boaz is from the tribe of Judah, the same lineage of Yahushua. And this is why he had to take Ruth and impregnate her with the child whose name is Obed, because from Obed you got Jesse, and Jesse begat David. And we know that Yahushua comes from the lineage of David. So this is the reason that this is highlighted. And this is the reason it's his own book. It was never about Ruth. It was about the child that came from Ruth. It was about Boaz carrying out the duty that he was supposed to. And it was about Naomi and her inheritance of that child. So, brother, I got one more scripture, Genesis 30, verse 1 through 3, because I want to show some semblance with something similar to this happening.
God. It's the book of Genesis, chapter 30, starting at verse 1. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel. And he said, Am I in God's stead? Who hath withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? And she said, Behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her.
This is the same type of thing that happened in Ruth. Naomi had children by Ruth, not in the sense of she got impregnated, but the children that Ruth had were her children, because she was the equivalent of a maid or a heathen servant. She was just standing in and doing her due diligence. And when she had that child, that was Naomi's child. So it's the same way when it shows that it says, when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. And when you read chapter 1, when we read chapter 1 of Ruth, we see that Naomi said, Hey, I can't have no more children. You're not going to get no more sons from my womb. So she was barren. So this is the same type of event. Rachel was barren. She couldn't have children. So it says, and Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel. And he said, Am I in God's stead? Who have withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? And she said, Behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. And she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to wife, and Jacob went into her. And so we see this same thing that's happening. So it's like no way that we can look at this and say that it's no semblance. That Naomi, when Ruth had this child, Naomi took it, and it was actually her child now. And we see the same thing with Rachel and Bilhah. But it's a pretty simple lesson. So I'm pretty much done, brother, unless you want to bring anything out.
No, I don't got anything to add. I stand with you though. All praises for the Most High.
Khan, the water. All praises and the water to everybody that tuned in. And if you didn't like the video, we ask that you could. Now, if you're watching on the replay, go ahead and like the video, and the water for everybody support. And if you didn't share, we ask that you share the video also. And that's pretty much it. Just want to end off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, whose name is Yahweh, by Shem Yahweh Shai. And brother, you can take us out.
God, we'll close it out with Numbers 6 and 24 on down. Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. And with that, I'll say Shalom.
Shalom, family.
It ain't for everybody. 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 Yeah, many you call, but few get chosen. Matthew 22 and 14.